But it's probably time for our first caller.
Yeah,
Shall we
let's
take
go.
that?
Let's take a call.
Cincinnati, go.
Yeah. That's great. Cincinnati, you're on the air.
You're on the air. You got a question for Chad, do you?
So today we're visiting a friend of mine. I've gotten to know Mike Strakhov probably for the last at least 2 years. He works for Live Oak Bank, which it's an amazing success story here in Wilmington. They've been around, I think this year will be their 10th year in business, and they've just quickly become a very large employer of the Wilmington community, as well as a nationally known and recognized bank for what they do. They really have a very unique model in that they've created these verticals in which they specialize in, and the insurance industry is one of those verticals. And so I've gotten to know Mike and his team, and so he was very gracious to allow me to schedule a time to come out and meet with him in video and just learn more about him and what they're doing specifically in the insurance vertical, but really what's next on the horizon for Live Oak Bank. Probably when you get in here, we'll probably not film until we have their permission to. Hey, good morning. Had a meeting with Mike Strakhov. How are you, buddy? Good to see you, man. Now, you have a very unique model with the different verticals within the bank and those different specializations. I think right now you've got about 17 or so.
That's correct. You've done your homework. Yes,
I have.
that is
No,
correct.
well, that's a lot. Was there a vertical, if you will, that was started? Like, was the original target or niche market?
It was. So it was veterinarians. So that was was our first vertical. So vertical number one, veterinarians. A lot had to do with the background of the founders and where they had expertise in lending.
They felt a confidence level there with
absolutely.
That.
So we started there, and then shortly thereafter, a bank that's focused primarily on SBA lending in one vertical. It just led to diversifying the book and industries that we serve, and we've grown to 17.
Obviously, you and I got to know each other because you kind of spearhead the insurance industry, and we met a couple years ago playing golf and through some mutual friends.
Right.
And you've been a great mentor of mine, just helping me understand not only different ways to grow my business and to kind of clean things up and make it sharp and tight, but also through acquisition. And taking a look at a couple deals, helping me think through things a couple different ways, helping me ask the right questions, and so I appreciate that and I thank that. But I get the impression that you probably spend a lot of time with other independent insurance agents, kind of helping them grow their business. Would you say you help them more on the growth side, sustaining what they've got? Tell me a little bit about your interaction with the agents.
Okay, great question, because we are, for the most part, a lot of our borrowers are first-time borrowers, so they're probably going to make the most significant transaction of their lifetime, involves a lot of money.
Right.
Want to make sure that they're making the right decisions.
Sure.
So they do need some help and guidance in evaluating the opportunities, understanding what it means from a debt perspective. What do we look at can be a bit of a learning experience for folks that haven't been through it before. So we spend a lot of time with our borrowers and helping them, basically consultative financing. So we're working them through the process.
I was going to say, you probably feel more like a consultant more days than a banker.
In many respects. Yeah. And sometimes, that it results, that process results in a no, and the deal doesn't work, and there's reasons why. But, at that point, that person's much more educated than they ever been as it relates to what they're trying to accomplish and how to look at acquisition. So.
What makes up with your volume, you were telling me a little bit earlier about how much business you've done so far this year. Mm-hmm. Would you say that's a lot of that's acquisition based, or is it a lot of it working capital for growth strategy and that sort of thing? How does that break down?
So most of what we do is acquisition. So that could be agent A buying agent B, so a third party agency acquisition. A lot of times what we'll do is perpetuation as well. So family looking to take over or transition the ownership. It could be a management team that's been there for a long time, or a very successful producer. But many times it is somebody within the agency that's looking to acquire the agency, so we'll work with them to help in that transition and provide the financing.
Do you see situations maybe when there's partnerships and one of the partners is ready to get out, and so there needs to be a kind of a buyout scenario with that? So
absolutely. So even if you just look, and I'm sure you've seen these industry trends and numbers, the aging, the typical age or average age of an agency principal right now is tipping, closer to 60. So many people might not immediately looking at transitioning ownership, but they're thinking about it, trying to figure out what that looks like, and that's the average age.
Well, Mike, tell me, we mentioned who else in the industry is kind of doing this from the model that Live Oak Bank has established, and there's probably no one, but who do you see as your competitors, especially in maybe your insurance industry, that vertical?
Sure.
Who are you competing against?
Yeah, that would definitely be the one I'm most familiar with. There are folks out there that are providing financing to agencies. A lot of agents are still using, seller note, seller financing.
Okay.
So former owner sells
Right.
it to somebody, they hold the note, they pay off the owner. So I would consider that to be competition to a degree because, but we do and can compete favorably, believe it or not, against
Right.
seller note terms and what they're doing. If it's on a 5-year term and we can put it on a 10, we can help
Sure.
spread their cash flow or their payment
Okay.
out and improve cash flow. But there are other banks out there, I'm not going to name them, but their structures are different. And ultimately, they're going to be more expensive. There's ongoing fees. Their term might not be as long.
Right.
So I think we're favorably positioned with the product that we have in order to service agents' needs as it relates particularly to acquisition, working capital. Can help you buy a building, refinance maybe some of those other banks' notes out there that somebody might be a little interested in moving on and looking to improve their capital structure based on a refinance. We're happy to do that, but we do probably bump into maybe 3 consistent competitors out there.
Okay.
And you think about how many banks are in this country.
A lot.
Very few focus in the insurance space.
Very few.
Yeah. So it's really it's a great spot for us to be in, and I think what we bring to the table is be able to process that request quickly, whether that's a yes or a no.
Right.
If it's a yes, we're going to move that into the process and try and get that person the money as quickly as possible.
Sure.
Most borrowers want to know, am I approved and when am I going to get my money? So
Yeah.
if you're approved, we start working on when you're going to get that money as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's unique.
And speed is important. And
Absolutely.
a lot of these deals that we bump into are time sensitive, and our goal is to make sure we meet every deadline as long as they're reasonable.
Sure. Well, I know prior to being introduced to you, through my experience working with local banks, they really had a hard time getting their arms around an insurance agency and valuing a book of business. And it was just something that, not that they didn't want to work with you, they just didn't really know how. And so whether that was a working line of capital, whether that was consideration for an acquisition, consideration for purchasing real estate, anything like that. And so I think you guys are definitely serving, especially in the insurance world, you're definitely taking care of an underserved market. There's no doubt about it. Now, obviously, you guys have tons of growth, and these cameras can't see all the construction that's going on right now, but does the bank have an idea of their size, like what they would like to be, or are they just kind of growing at the pace that the market is allowing them to right now?
So I would tell you, if you understood or knew the management team of the bank, senior management team of the bank, there is always a ongoing process of finding whether it's new verticals, new products,
Right.
new ways for the bank to grow.
Okay.
So aspirationally, there's some very large numbers out there that
Sure.
we're looking to grow. We're not satisfied with where we are, but we've grown from 0 to a $2 billion asset bank in the 10 years that we've been in business. But with that brings greater resources to research different things. And
Sure.
you're going to continue to see the bank have aggressive growth goals, and,
Right.
and we're going to continue to add people, add verticals, add products, really be more of a full-service bank as it relates to deposits and checking and some other things.
Okay.
So a lot of discussion on how do we expand
I've
this.
seen that as you in the past, you've done mostly, and you probably still do mostly a lending organization, but you are doing savings accounts and maybe
Correct.
CDs and that sort of thing.
That's correct.
Do you see them ever having like a retail branch
There's
bank?
going to be aspects of what we do that will encourage greater deposits, and that's
Sure.
whether that's with our current customers, whether that's more on the consumer
Right.
deposits, which we will accept at this point, CDs, things of that nature. I think it's going to be a bigger part of what we
Yeah.
do. So
Yeah.
it's just the natural outgrowth.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of people that watch our videos and that are aspiring entrepreneurs, or they're already business leaders or business owners, and Is there any sense of advice that you could leave? And I know specifically your expertise is in the insurance world, but is there any advice that you could leave us with today that you would love to see more entrepreneurs or more agency owners do, or just, again, kind of reiterate some of the things that you see in the successful ones?
Yeah, so it's interesting from mostly what we do is small business. You know, so we'll speak primarily, at least for me anyway, agencies under $2.5 million in revenue. Okay. Some are higher. We've done some larger deals and that type of thing. But vast majority day to day, those are the folks that we speak to. My advice to them, and you know, I hate to sound too cliche, but run your business like you're going to sell it tomorrow. Okay. Because a lot of times, you know, opportunity comes up, and you now are faced with, hey, I might need financing for this, but maybe you've run your agency in a way that doesn't allow for you to be a good candidate for financing. So, you know, a lot of people have different motivations to run their business. You know, they don't want to pay taxes. You know, they run a lot of expenses potentially through the business and things of that nature. But that's all fine and good. And you know, I'm not saying one's good, one's bad. Right. But if you plan on having options in the future, it really limits your options if you're not running, you know, a top flight agency that has acceptable margins. And you know, ultimately, you want to make sure that you have some options and flexibility in the future. And a really well-run business has more options. Particularly if something opportunistic happens that you weren't necessarily, you know, have 2 to 3 year runway to prepare for. Sure. You're good to run your business.
So even if you don't plan on selling your business, run it as if you were.
Exactly.
That's great advice. Yeah. Well, Mike, thank you again.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, let's get out there and play some golf sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need lessons, so don't have any expectations.